All right, everybody. It is now that time. The Royal Rumble has ended, and there is a lot to talk about. And here on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and sportswireradio.org via the Listen Now button, we are going to talk about all of it here with a couple of guys that are two of our resident analysts here on Sportswire Radio. One of them is the host of the Be More Talkative podcast. The other one is a Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer and is also the host of the Hockey Fan Chat. We are talking about none other than Mr. Randy Dillon. And guys, how are you?
I'm great. What a good Rumble show. I know there's a lot of mixed reaction, but I thought that was a pretty good show with short matches. They were able to explain a lot of stories. I fairly enjoyed it.
What about you, TBK, before we get into it? A lot to talk about here.
I am on the total opposite end. I think it left a lot to be desired. There was some good moments, sure, but I'm not impressed.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to say hello to a couple of people and bring in a couple of people. It looks like we have Chris Craven, our coach, who said he's looking to pop on. I gave him the link. We'll do that. We'll have Ron Franklin here maybe pop on in a few minutes. Ron, you got to give me more than like one word answers. So, this is Royal Rumble time. So, give me some good opinions. But obviously, we'll see if these guys pop on. I want to say hello to Beans Plays as well. How you doing, Beans? Thank you for joining us. And if you're joining us, give us that sub on Sportswire Radio because we're over the 500 subscription threshold. I want to keep that push numbers. Can you go further and further? But obviously, I think let's start from what we just saw. Obviously, we'll go back on the women's end. We'll talk about Bayley. We'll talk about Roman Reigns. We'll talk about, obviously, Logan Paul and Kevin Owens. But Cody Rhodes looks like he gets a chance to finish that story, but it wasn't CM Punk. So, guys, I'm going to give you both your reactions, and whoever wants to go first, fire away.
I'll take the floor here, Tom. So I think it was the right move definitely to have Cody win because one, this canceled all the rumors of Rock versus Roman. There was so much talk about it, what is going to happen, and I think this silenced everything. Rock versus Roman not going to happen this year at Mania. And Cody is right now the legitimate face of the W. There's no one hotter, no one the fans care about more. He's pretty much been the biggest baby face of the company since maybe Stone Cold Steve Austin.
First Royal Rumble winner back-to-back in over a quarter century since Stone Cold back in 97, 98. Yep.
Exactly. The one thing I'm going to add, I think Seth Rollins' injury really changed things because 2 weeks ago, I would say CM Punk is the favorite to win. But with Seth Rollins' injury, they don't know if he's going to make it to Mania. They're hopeful he is, but it's still really up in the air. I think this is a safe bet to go.
What do you think here, TBK? We want to say hello to our 15th member in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, Mr. Chris Craven. Chris is here with us. We'll say hello to the coach in a minute. But TBK, what do you think on that? And anything else before I get to some more comments?
Yeah, no, I think Randy's absolutely right. And I was actually saying it to a group of guys in the chat here earlier. I was like, if Cody doesn't win, then that sets up Rock and Roman. If he does, then obviously the blatantly obvious is obvious. So they went with the blatantly obvious, and we're getting Cody to finish the story, which is great. And you know what? The rumors were just rumors. Rock never did officially challenge Roman. All he did was hint at the head of the table. He never officially made the challenge, so people can't really be all up in arms about that.
Okay, that's fair. And we say hello to Ron Franklin as well. Ron, you're outside, I see. I mean, I hope you're all right out there, but I'll come back to you in a second. I'm hearing a lot of noise from somebody in the back. I don't know if it's you, Ron, or if it's our coach, Chris Craven, but if you can turn down. Is that you, Ron? If you're outside, I mean, we can always bring you back next week.
No, my mic was muted, so it wasn't me.
All right. Well, obviously, let's go with you, Coach. Coach, you're obviously a two-time Hall of Famer, BWA Hall of Famer, Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer. What did you think Men's Rumble? Were you okay with Cody winning it and getting that chance to finish the story? It looks like here in about 2 months, not too far from you in Philadelphia.
I was hoping for Santino Marella to come back. I'm good with Cody.
Were you in a pool? Were you in a Royal Rumble pool and you had Santino? Is that what it was?
I was talking with TBK in his chat room, and then I was also talking to some other friends. And I I was joking about it because a couple friends of mine were joking that they wanted to see Buff Bagwell return.
Oh God.
Well,
And I
Buff
was like,
Bagwell's on the Jericho cruise, brother. If anybody saw that, Buff Bagwell's
yeah.
actually on the Jericho cruise. So all right.
And people started just shooting off names like Kai and Ty and you know, Drew Carey. Is Drew Carey going to get in the Rumble again? I was done. So, but yes, I'm happy to see that Cody got it. I am glad to see that they didn't just let Punk walk back in and take what he wanted from a business standpoint, because they're, I didn't think they were going to let him anyway, but just to be sure. And this whole Rock and Roman thing, dude. I think The Rock is billed to be at the Elimination Chamber, whether that's an appearance, he's going to be in the audience, he's going to be backstage. He was advertised to be at the Chamber. So if they wind up having Rock mess with Roman, then you already know The Rock's going to not win the title because he's not going to stick around long enough to wrestle. So it's kind of like it doesn't really matter from this point out. I think Cody's path is clear. We all know where it's going.
He showed
he made it clear when he pointed directly at Roman.
Yep.
Immediately following.
Yep.
So now we just got to see what's going to happen with Rollins. And
I think that's the big question there. I mean, what happens with him? Ron, how you doing? Nice to see you. I will get to comments in a second. I got a ton of comments, and I'll say
maybe Punk will win the Chamber and go after Rollins, and you'll get that.
Well, I was thinking that, but I want to get to you, Ron Franklin. Ron, what do you think? Men's Rumble. What was your opinion?
My opinion was, a lot of people were saying Punk was going to win. A lot of people were saying Cody was going to win and finish the story. For me, I'm more happier that Cody won than CM Punk because, he came back into the company and he doesn't really need to go after Roman. I think we all want to see Punk versus Seth, honestly. And, all in all, I think, Rumble was pretty good. I was at a watch party, so everyone was pretty hyped. But, I'm satisfied with Cody winning. He is the third person to win it twice in a row. So.
Yep, and Stone Cold was the last one, 97, 98. And we haven't had one in over a quarter century. I want to say hello to a bunch of people here, first of all. Beans gives it easy 5 out of 10 for me. So he thinks 5 out of 10 was the Rumble overall. Okay, that's fair. Also here, Guardian Warrior RLSH. Thank you for tuning in. I don't know you. I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for the first time. Give us a sub, by the way, on YouTube at Sportzwire Radio 6579. So I'd appreciate if you hit that sub button. Tease me all you want, but the truth is I'm related to Randy Orton. Yeah, okay. You may be. I wish you well on that.
You hear voices too? No.
Well, he might be related to Craven Rage. I don't know about Randy Orton. Maybe Craven Rage he's related to. Maybe he's related to Joshua Snow, the guy who put snow up his butt. I don't know. But hello, Tom. I'm doing great. Thank you very much. Want to say hello to our commissioner in Tennessee Backyard Wrestling. They just had the most successful show in the company's history. Season finale 7, over 5,000 views, 6,500 subscribers on YouTube. The guys were just on Barstool Sports earlier this week. Congratulations, Commissioner Beast, although I wouldn't want to be the Nature Boy Gage Flair or Russell Cooper in your path, but be that as it may, onto mainstream business. Women's Royal Rumble, a lot of botches. Naomi didn't look too good, but conversely, I have a different take on that. I'm going to come back to that. Good evening, gentlemen. Guardian Warrior, how could I join the show live? Message me. I'm on Instagram at the Sports Report 2021, and maybe I can bring you on the show as long as you're okay out there. But message me on my Instagram if you're on Instagram, and I can maybe send you the link. I wonder if we're going to see maybe a triple threat between Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, and Cody Rhodes for the championship. You guys want to answer that before I get to another Hall of Famer?
I could see the company doing something foolish like that, but at this point you got to just let Cody and Roman do this again. If you think about Cody's history and everything, it's he tried, he failed, he went through a year of hard times, as they would say, and he's coming back full circle. And I think he just needs to have that one-on-one with Roman and take
Can
it.
he? Let me ask you, gentlemen, a little question before I say hello to our third member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, the first real wrestler, one half of the XCW Tag Team Champions, Justin Parsley. Can Cody Rhodes conceivably fail again and be seen ever as a believable title contender? What do you guys
God,
think?
if
No.
Triple H is bring the biggest coup on all the thing, Cody, this is what you get for breaking my throne, if that's actually true, but I don't see it. I think he's the biggest. He is the face of the company right now.
So this time, right? So let's go with this, gentlemen, real quick. And I'll get to comments. I'm going to say hello to people, and I'll talk about the women in a few minutes. But conceivably, it's Cody and Roman, right? I agree with you, Coach. He pointed at Roman. Roman stood up. Heyman looked at him. We got that. But can he fail again and be ever seen as a credible champion?
I mean, I could see it, but considering he won the Royal Rumble just now for the second year in a row, I was thinking how John Cena did it. He faced The Rock, lost the first
Hey,
time.
we're all football
got
fans.
redemption the
Buffalo
second
Bills
year.
lost 4 consecutive Super Bowls.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
Hey man, if we're gonna get on football, you need to do a show tomorrow for the Ravens and Chiefs game.
Y'all better not choke against the Chiefs.
3 o'clock game, maybe after the games are done, maybe that's a possibility if guys want to test their football skills. But the point is that listen, Cody could be this guy that doesn't win the big. I'm just saying, because they keep pushing Roman and 1,200 plus days. They've talked about Hulk Hogan. I'm just saying. That's why
I think, and this is just my knowledge in psychology of wrestling. With all the elongated storytelling they've done, with all the pushing, with all the long-term planning, all of this, all the build-up for Cody. He came in, how they worked him with Seth, how they he got through his injury, he comes back, they pop him up right to the top, they let him win the first time, he goes through a year of shit, he's going back to Mania, obviously against Roman. If they don't capitalize on this story, I don't think it matters what Cody does. Cody's a household name. It's
I agree.
He's a main event guy. He's a household name. He's somebody that whether he wins or loses, he'll either succeed further or he'll recover. But I think storytelling wise, if they keep Roman as the champion exiting WrestleMania 40, instead of giving that to Cody, that's like you just dropped a huge ball.
Yeah,
what you're doing.
Go ahead, TBK. Jump in. There's a lot of people that want to talk about this right now. Hang on tight. TBK, I see you there. Go ahead. Jump in. Talk to me.
Yeah, no, to me it shows if you don't have, like he was saying, after all this build up, after all this storytelling, you have the man win the Rumble for the second year in a row. If you don't have Cody come away with the win, then to me it shows that the WWE has no faith in anybody else but Roman to be a title holder. And to pass up on one of your top faces after the storytelling you've been doing would be, oh my God, it would be insane at this point. Literally, you would have to look at them and go, what are you doing?
Right.
I guess they're arguing. I guess Randy, jump in. Go ahead, Randy.
The one thing I'm going to add to this is, though, every story in wrestling has an expiry date. And I'm going to go back to the NWO in the 90s. They were doing so well, but they kept dragging them out, keep going. And eventually, people just got sick, tired. They didn't know what to do with them. And I feel this is a point where Roman is. There's not much more you can do with him at this point. We've seen all that he can do. Unless there's another trick they have up their book, I think the Bloodline and Roman Reigns, their expiry dates come. I don't think there's any more you can do with them.
Okay, great point. I have a lot of people that want to talk, and people are fired up, and I want to be able to say hello to as many people as I can out there. Also, Justin Parsley. Justin's one of my favorite guys out there. Justin and I were speaking off the air, as we always do. I like that Women's Rumble. We deserve the end of our Bloodline textbook storytelling, and Justin's a big storyteller. Want to say good morning. That's a good point, Jules. It's good morning now. It's 12:22 in the morning, so that's a good call. I'm actually on the air in the morning. So anybody remember what was that movie? It was a Robin Williams movie. It was Good Morning something. I forget. Maybe
Good Morning Vietnam.
Good Morning Vietnam.
There you go. There you go. Somebody remembered out there, but there you go. No, and I didn't serve.
Just because I'm old.
Well, you know what? Listen, you're not as old as our longest tenured analyst, Rob Maraska. So he's got you beat by like 40 years. So don't feel too bad. Justin Parsley wants to say Punk could win a chamber match for the contender spot at Mania. Hopefully, hiring him was the best Swerve alternative. Really played with fans' emotions, but super that W for Cody. TBK maybe doesn't agree, but the rest of you guys are okay with that before I say hello to more people?
No, I'm okay with it.
Are you okay with it?
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
good.
okay with it.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. My buddy Skulls out there, the soul hunter from California. Yes, it was great you hung out with Paul London. He wasn't in the Rumble. I appreciate that you hung out with him, but we'll talk about that next month when you're on Sportswire Radio. But yes, and I hope you enjoyed the Rumble, Skulls, and let me know what you think. The Royal Rumble was absolutely amazing. Yeah, I enjoyed the show. I definitely think that the show was good. I don't think it was the greatest Rumble I've ever seen, but it was a solid show. I would say, I don't know if it was 5. I would say maybe between a 7 and an 8. Let's go with that, right? Yes, Jules. Also, Jodell, the legendary Jodell, of course, who's the man that's designed some merchandise for the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame. Go to metalhalloffame.org for that. Are we jumping to conclusions? Cody might go after Seth. Rock hinted going after Roman. But did you watch the end of the show, Joe? Cody pointed at Roman.
I
Pointed
don't
at
think
Roman.
he did. I don't
What's
think
that?
he did because he pointed at Roman, and then Roman stood up, showing his title. And why would you choose to go after Seth when you lost to Roman after a year ago?
Exactly. Yes,
And
100%.
look,
You want revenge.
Heyman's face, I think, explained a better story than anything. He was not looking too confident at the end of the show.
I think it makes absolutely 0 sense for Cody to go after Seth. 0 at this point.
No.
They had history already. Beating a dead horse. The story is right now is last year Cody Rhodes came up short against Roman Reigns. Now we're going to run it back. And if Cody Rhodes doesn't finish the story this time, he's a permanent failure in WWE history. He has to finish the story this
I
year.
will say this:
He has to
Gunther
finish it.
has more of a chance of going after Seth than Cody does.
Yes, in that context, correct. Yes, good. That's a good point, Ron. Good point.
Yeah, like I said though, like at the end of the day, again, everybody else was jumping to conclusions on the whole Rock thing. All Rock did was mention the head of the table. For all we know, that could have been an implication of him joining the board of directors on TKO. Okay,
Right.
you know,
I think it is setting up going off top. I think we will eventually see Roman eventually, but I don't
when
think
he's not the title holder. When he's
not
not
the title. He doesn't need at that point.
Yeah.
And by the way, I want to give a big shout out to TVK because that's his banner he created for us. So it's not the full banner. I couldn't get the full banner up on the screen. I wanted to make sure of that. And by the way, I want to give a big plug to Randy Dillon also because there was one man that should have been in the Royal Rumble, Mr. Jinder Mahal. Randy's friends with him. And I must ask Randy, where was Jinder tonight? Where was
I
he?
don't know. He came out with a new shirt as well on WWEshop.com that don't hinder Jinder. I thought it'd be a great way to get him out.
Did you jinx him, Randy? Did you jinx him?
No. Because I know all of India would have been happy to see him on.
I would have been happy because I was actually looking forward to seeing Jinder. I would have loved to have seen Jinder and Drew maybe mix it up, kind of like old times there for 3MB.
Yeah,
But,
I did see a couple 3MB signs too, so I was curious.
Let me say hello to somebody who is killing it right there now out there in the entire wrestling world. He is killing it better than pro wrestlers. He is the ROEW champion of the world, the good guy CJ Black, who has defeated 2 of the most important stars right now out there, Jack Delta and JX for those championships. Cody's definitely getting his big triumphant babyface one. You guys agree with that?
Yeah, for sure.
Send
Well,
Max down.
he's a good guy. He knows. He's a good guy. So he would know. So obviously, he's doing a great job out there. And ROEW, by the way, has a great match that is out there between Jack Delta and C-Money. If you haven't seen it, go to their YouTube page, ROEW Backyard Wrestling. I want to say hello to another one of our Hall of Famers on Sportswire Radio, Mr. Glenn Abbott. Glenn is the co-host for the Work in Progress show. These guys do a phenomenal job. I was on their podcast last Friday. They are awesome. Glenn is one of the most respected British wrestling minds. And by the way, get this, he actually has spent time in the company of the late, great Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog. That's a little known fact. I think they gave it to Cody to give them some room to move. If Seth isn't fit for WrestleMania, they can still do Seth versus Punk if he's okay. You guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's right so up in the air with Seth because I think the reports were 8 weeks. Seth saying 3 to 4 weeks. Mania's now what? We're looking at 2 months at this, a little bit over
Yeah, a
two
little over
months.
two. I
So
thought the same thing.
we're
About 9 weeks.
playing it
About 9 weeks.
close at this point with Seth. So I think there is a good chance he misses Mania unless he rehabs, like unless he's able to go way ahead schedule.
Run out to my car.
Good point. Good point here. Let's get to some more comments and let's remove the banner. And we'll put the coach on mute while he's waiting to come back on because we want to take this off. Only because they have 2 world titles, he could still go after the other world title, miss the prestige of the one big undisputed championship. Well, that's the point that you don't want to saturate or dilute your championships. You want to have one true champion, but Roman's been champion for so long that they kind of had to split the titles up, to be fair. But okay, thank you, Justin, for all platforms out there. And also, Cody's got to turn heel to go after Seth. His story may be to cement his legacy at any cost, but Roman's a much better story. And we mostly agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know about Cody turning heel. Roman's definitely a much better story.
I think his point would be. I think the point would be if he were to actually go after Seth, he would have to turn heel. I think that's the context, which I think is a fair point. And Ethan, I'm not going to talk about John Cena JBL 2005 Judgment Day. I'm not going to talk about that. We're talking the Royal Rumble 2024. Thank you though for tuning in. But maybe we'll come back to the men's Rumble in a few minutes. But obviously, we'll talk about the women's Rumble, and I think he's referring to Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan made a comeback, and I think Randy, you had mentioned Liv was going to come back. The women's Rumble had a lot more surprises, and I'm curious what you guys think about the women's Rumble first. Bayley wins it. Randy, you called it. I said Becky Lynch. I think you had a different take, TBK, but I'm curious on what everybody else thinks. So, Ron Franklin, you're up first. And what did you think about the women's Rumble and Bayley winning it?
The women's Rumble I enjoyed a bit more than the men's, honestly. Even though it had some botches, Liv Morgan came back. That's always fun. I'm actually glad Bailey won. I'm just praying to God she doesn't go after Rhea because Rhea's gonna destroy her, and I do have my mommy shirt on, so I don't want to see Bailey get folded, as I usually say, because she needs to go after Io because that's like a better rivalry, honestly.
Ron, are you on the train right now?
Yeah, my bad.
Are we gonna lose you and we need to say goodbye to you? Because if you're on the train, I understand.
Is it okay if I jump back in when I'm somewhere quiet?
We'll talk to you later, Ron. We'll be safe on the road, okay, buddy? I'll talk to you later. Ron Franklin there, really dedicated guy, but be safe out there on the road. But okay, we'll move on and let Coach, you have your say on the Women's Rumble, and were you okay with how this was booked? And there was some different surprises there. I think the women's might have been more interesting in who actually appeared, but what did you think on Bayley winning it?
I think the Women's Royal Rumble it had surprises in it. It was good to see Naomi come back. I was actually kind of hoping that Sasha would return too, considering that Naomi and Sasha left together.
Yep.
I thought maybe whether Sasha won it or not, I think it would have been good for her to come in, come home, and on top of that, I wish they would have done Jade Cargill a little better. That was kind of my pick to win. They did build up, like I said, with the Punk thing. It's like they did. I mean, not the Punk, Cody thing. It's like they did all this build up, all this intrigue to her coming in.
And they had her disappear for a while. She was off TV for 2.5 months, and it was like that was it. Nothing.
They popped her in. She made appearances. It got everybody hyped. She went away. There were a lot of people that I know personally that were speculating she was going to show up in the Rumble, just as myself. I thought that was what was going to happen. I actually thought she was going to be at least number 30 as the last surprise of the women's match. Go on, win. Not that Bayley doesn't deserve it. I think Bayley does deserve it.
I don't think the momentum's there, though, with Bayley. You know what I'm saying?
No, and everybody was – I think a lot of people were hoping for Jade, that I know personally at least, to at least have a little bit of – even if she didn't win, have a better showing. But, so – the Rumble match for the women were good. It was good. Okay, my pick didn't win. I hope they do more with Jade. I hope she doesn't vanish again. I hope they capitalize on something with her. But as far as Bailey and her pick, I mean, this is something that I've been saying this for like a month. Damage control is going to turn on Bailey. It's gonna be like the Batista evolution thing.
Yeah,
Batista,
with the thumbs down. Yeah, and then the
right?
whole
Like the faction's gonna turn on the guy, or like they did with Orton, right?
Yep.
And I think they're gonna turn on her. She's gonna challenge Io, and then you're still gonna have Rhea open for Becky, Jade, Nia, whoever they want to put against Rhea. So, I mean, I'm calling it. I think that Bailey's going after Io. I think that's going to be your WWE Women's Title match at Mania.
Do you guys agree or disagree with that?
I definitely agree. I think EO is the right choice because what they're doing. Chris said, like, definitely, I think a lot of people were expecting Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks to return, and maybe she still will because I feel like she does play a role in this storyline if it goes after EO because she needs backup. It's 3 against 1, 4 against 1 at this, 3 against 1, but 4 against 1. Dakota Kai is going to be close to return, and all 3 of them, Kyrie saying Dakota Kai, Asuka, they're all turning on Bailey, where Bailey does need backup. Now, adding the point with Jay Cargill, like, I think it was the right move to put her at the spot because they were able to hype her up, especially what she did to Nia Jax. I think that got the attention of the wrestling world to see how strong she is. Definitely, I think she had some work to do. I think we could see at Mania, are we going to see her go against Nia Jax or even Bianca Belair at this point? But I think it's good to finally see Jay Cargill in WWE and showing what she's really made of.
You agree, TBK? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, these guys pretty much said it all. I think the obvious turn at this point is to eventually have, like they said, to have Bailey go after Io, because now she has the ability to challenge, and the writing has pretty much been on the wall as clear as day as what is going to happen in Damage Control. So it only makes sense at this point. I also am on the same train. I think they totally blew the 30 spot with Liv Morgan. I definitely think that that belonged to either Jade or, as the rumblings we were getting of maybe AJ Lee, even Sasha. So I mean, they kind of misstepped there, but thank God we got a chance to see Jade in action again. We got to see how incredibly strong she is.
Oh my God! I mean, what she was doing for a
she-
while in AEW, to finally see that in a WWE ring,
Yeah.
that I mean, she's got untapped potential, and Ron Franklin will definitely see you on Friday's show. Be safe out there on the road. Let me get to Justin Parsley. He has a comment that he wants me to read off. He couldn't get a chance to put it on YouTube, but he says, "We live in a time of TikTok attention spans. I personally loved living during a lengthy title run, a few of them even, but I really like Roman's. It was a heel of a comparable run to Bruno and Hogan's. But it was cool to see it in our lifetime. But I get it. We want more and we want it now. Fickle fans, internet, everything's changed the game of wrestling due to the internet." Anybody disagree or agree with that comment at all from Justin Parsley? He seems to be okay with Roman's run, and he'd like to see it continue.
It's debatable because with professional wrestling, it's about how much you can get out of the story, how much you can keep someone going. We've seen with the Shield, Evolution, the Undisputed Era, and NXT.
The NWO years ago,
there's
D-Generation X,
yeah.
the Corporation. Yep.
There's only so much someone can give. And eventually, when they've given all they got, what do you really do with them? People come and go, and we've seen moments in WWE where someone's hot, aka the Fiend, they give him the title, and sometimes it's just not the right decision, and then you have to take it off them. And a guy like Goldberg, you have to give it to him. Where I think they've done great work with Roman, but there's not much more you can do with him.
Yeah,
Let's
and plus too,
You
I
want to say
think.
something, Coach?
My bad, Chris. Go ahead.
Jump in, Coach.
Making moments and making history and getting statistic numbers is something that WWE has wildly shown that that's what they're about, and they've been about for some time now. But just like, and I'll say this about, because this was said about the NWO a long time ago. too much of the same thing or too much of something is never good. And while the idea for Roman or anybody really, it could have been anybody. Gunther right now is having a good inner IC title reign. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
So
yeah.
to have a lengthy reign, okay, like you were saying, this was being said earlier. At some point, it's got to cap off. What else? What else are you going to feed this guy? You know what I mean? At some point, for me, psychology with wrestling, it's like, okay, he's had it for 3.5 years. All right, take the belt off.
Hasn't been pinned in a singles match in 4.5 years. I mean, it's a long time.
Yeah, take the title off of him. Give it to a new guy that can run with it to get new feedback from the audience. If you want to do something with Roman, have him rebuild. Have him fail and rebuild. Because me personally, I'm going to be interested to see how they're going to wrap the bloodline storyline either up or how they're going to wrap it to continue past the loss of Roman. Like, what's Roman going to say to his guys, his family, when he loses? What's his excuse going to be? Can Roman, you were asking, could Cody come back from another WrestleMania loss? Can Roman really come back from this? I mean, because for the longest time since Roman's been in WWE, the company has constantly had challenges figuring out what to do with Roman.
Up until this run,
right?
Roman finally got over the hurdle. I agree with you.
If he wasn't in the Shield, right? And then they went off and they fed off of his cancer thing, which was heartfelt for the audience to reciprocate to.
Yep.
And now you have this run. Everything in between all those other times, they kept juggling Roman. He couldn't do a heel. He couldn't do a face. We don't know what to do with him here. We don't. So question is for the company, once they do take the belt off of him, I think you said this, TBK, what are they going to do with him after that? What are they going to actually do with him?
I don't know. I don't know.
And I just think that the bloodline as a stable has run its course.
Mm-hmm.
But what they do with Roman, I don't know. I have to see. I think that Roman needs a new chapter.
We'll see if we get it, though. Listen, Justin Parsley would like to see the chapter continue in the run of a Bruno Sammartino. I mean, who knows?
I don't know if we could handle that in this modern
world. The point that business is booming in WWE. Record business, Netflix deal, live events with figures we've never seen in the company's history. So maybe Roman could be champion for years and years and years. I mean, not saying that I endorse that, but, business would dictate that people will actually like Roman as champion, quote unquote.
No one likes that. Listen, look. We're at the point now where the booking has become absolutely lazy. The finish for this match was god awful. Okay, the freaking it is so rinse and repeat at this point. With
the Roman AJ, that I agree with you. That was lame. Honestly, it should have been. He stacked, I think, Orton, and it was LA Knight. He should have. That's where it should have ended. Then they kind of went, and it was like they went on for a couple of minutes, and it was like, go ahead, Randy. You want to jump in? I'll let you go.
Yeah, no, I think the ending of the match, I think AJ took that rope too hard, and I think he actually took it.
I think great build up, great match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a good match. I was into it. I agree.
Four great competitors. It was a good competitive match, and then you get to going home, and it was like wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
There was no build up for example, Solo gave all those thumb shots to Orton, and he came in there. Okay, you could have ended it there. Okay, fine, you didn't. But then you had that moment where Roman could have stacked Knight and Orton. You could have ended it there, but then you let it go, and then it was kind of like without no momentum. Or AJ Styles gets pinned by Roman Reigns. It was like there was no momentum. It was like you were left almost like hanging. Almost it went out with a whimper.
The only thing I'm wondering. Sorry, Chris. The only thing I'm wondering is, does this mean Roman might do something with AJ at the Chamber at this point? That's the only thing I am wondering, because if Seth is not going to compete, would they have to get Roman over there to compete?
All right, well, let me get to a couple of comments here. Yeah, Ron, definitely thank you for that. Also, Ethan wants to say tonight's women's Royal Rumble match was okay. It could have had more surprise returns. Did you guys real quick on that? And I'll say a couple other people. Were you okay with some of the people that came in? We got to see Naomi came back. Yeah, Jordan Lynn Grace. I thought that was kind of a nice little thing. She did pretty well. Anything else that was missing in the women's Rumble of anybody else other than AJ Lee? Anybody else? I mean, Sasha, who really knows at this point? Who the hell knows what's in her mind? But anything else on that? Any surprises?
I think Mickey James was, I think, one a lot of people were expecting with Tommy mentioned Nick Aldis being in WWE, and then always Michelle McCool, especially being in Tampa and stuff, to have her show up.
That's a good point. That's a good one. Michelle McCool has certainly been in there. And I want to say hello to our good buddy, Michael Blackheart, who I know is going to be a topic Tuesday night when our senior official, Mr. Festus Davis from XCW is here. Hello, Rev. I think you messaged me on Facebook earlier, so it's nice to see you once again. Rumble was great, but Cold Day in Hell was better. Yeah, I mean, I've heard through a birdie. I've seen the pictures on Facebook, but I'm saying nothing because Tuesday, your father-in-law is going to be in my house on Sportzwire Radio, so we'll have to remain silent on that. But Joe Dell, of course, the legendary Joe Dell, wants to say, the thing about the Rumbles, they always hint at too many conflicts in the ring, and in bits, it's going to be Jade and Bianca. What do you guys think on that?
Yeah, I think the matches that we're going to get out of Jade Cargill, whether it be Bianca, whether it be Rhea, she's absolutely shown that she is a powerhouse, and whoever she gets in the ring with, it's going to be a breath of fresh air.
No question about that. No, I totally agree with that. But
I think
I wouldn't be surprised if when they do the women's chamber, like I said, you figure by the chamber, they're going to do something with Rhea. I mean, not Rhea. They're going to do something with Bayley as far as who she's going to choose. I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'll say this: if she winds up going after Io, like I think she probably will, I think it's very possible that Jade could win the chamber, and then you may have Jade against Rhea.
That would be interesting.
Sorry guys, I disagree with you, Chris, because the only thing with Jade is I don't feel she has enough momentum, and I don't want WWE to get in the problem with AEW. They have someone and they get them hyped up, book them in a big match, get them lose, and then they don't know what to do. I think Jade, you need to build her off. I think Nia Jax would be a first big match for her to really, with that strength she showed. For Rhea Ripley, I think the writing on the wall is going to be Becky Lynch.
I think, but listen, it was mentioned, and I said this, Randy, 2 Raws ago, that there is kind of some unfinished business there and kind of how they've crossed paths in different ways. Yeah. That's where I think. I know, I agree with you. I would love to see Jay. Okay, jump in.
Now, how would you feel that if the women's world title was a fatal 4-way between Becky, Nia, Belair, and Jade?
I could live with that.
As long as it doesn't have a Roman finish, I'm fine.
I'm just trying to say is like, I think that, and I think this way. I thought it about Cody, and when he first came in, and I thought about it, how they displayed Cody. You're right. They're bringing these AEW guys, people in, and Punk. I don't count Punk. Punk was WWE.
No, Punk's like a Hogan. It's like Austin.
He's a floater. He likes to go wherever he wants to go.
Exactly.
But and Cody's not really Cody's only really AEW because he helped start it. But he's traditionally AEW. I mean, he's
but Cody, when he was here, wasn't the Cody that we're seeing now.
Right.
He had to go to the
He was WWE, but he made him. He made a whole new everything about himself.
Yes,
that made
like
him
Drew McIntyre. Listen, to be fair, Drew McIntyre reinvented himself the first time after he left WWE. We're joking about 3MB, but the fact is, Drew McIntyre reinvented himself, and sometimes you have to do that, and Cody did that. So
times 10, man. He did that to the nines, and with Jade, like I said, they brought her in, they hyped her up, they were very happy to get her. As far as things I keep hearing, they're still trying to poach from AEW. There's rumors going around. They're trying to get Orange Cassidy over in WWE.
Well, there was one name that people were speculating that was going to be in the
MJF.
Rumble. Yes, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Yes,
I think
the AEW concept with these guys coming from AEW to WWE, You got to think there's a lot of talent in AEW that doesn't know any better. They don't know the two different sides. There are some guys in AEW that know both sides. This side, WWE side, even some of the TNA side, and all these other companies. You got men and women that came up when AEW started that have no idea what the differences are in the different atmospheres of these companies.
I think that's a great point. There's differences in terms of how you run a show. There's differences in how you have a finish. There's differences in terms of the overall locker room. There is differences in terms of the concept of a live product. There's a number of different points. I think that's a great point.
You also look at the differences in how the shows are ran. And I'm not talking about AEW and WWE. I'm talking about old WWE, where Vince McMahon was very traditional about how he did shit.
Who?
Vince McMahon.
Who?
Vince McMahon. Okay, I said it. I don't give a shit. Vince McMahon was
funny because my brother was watching it and he said, well, he made the point. He says, do you think now that they'll never mention Vince McMahon again now on WWE TV? And I was like, that's actually a good point. I should bring it up on
for a while.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll get Benoit. Anyway, there's another thing. Anyway, Vince did things very traditional to how he knew how to do business.
Correct.
Triple H, Paul Levesque, and TKO, and all these other people that are running the company now. If you can tell the differences slightly, they're trying to do a lot of stuff. They're still giving what they have to for the heels because they still got a story tell, but they're going after what's hot.
Well, they're coming in from a boxing UFC background. Look at how the presentation of a WWE premium live event is from even 5 years ago. There's a major difference in what we see in the presentation of the product, right? Take a step back, leave aside the outcome of these things, but just even the presentation is dramatically different. AEW still has that concept of like watching a regular wrestling pay-per-view. WWE is all about really not anything but wrestling the way they present themselves. It's presented almost like the Super Bowl is. Every WWE
they want the media, they want people to talk, They want to pop it off. And like I said, Triple H.
Well, it's like how we treat wrestling on Sportzwire.
Right.
We have Jimmy Controversy
like this, and I'll give you an example. Someone said this to me the other day, and I couldn't agree more. I looked at it because I was talking about the men and women's Royal Rumble and who would win and how it would pop. And someone said to me the other day, he's like, they referenced Vince versus Paul Levesque. It was like, anytime Vince would come out and say, "This is my prodigy, this is my guy," right? When he would showcase himself promoting a talent, for example, and my friend told me this, for example, when he pulled Drew McIntyre in back in the early 2000s and said,
I knew you're going with this. Go ahead.
The next guy, right?
Yep.
They went nowhere. Their run flopped. Right?
Big
now,
time.
McIntyre's something now, but he had to do that for himself.
Right. Yeah.
You see Triple H pulling people in, Cody, Jade.
How about Brian Breaker tonight?
He's endorsing all of these people and they're thriving. Think about the business differences. They're thriving. Every time Michaels or Triple H endorses somebody, you see them on screen endorsing this person, something big for that.
Well, here's the difference. Here's the difference on that. As we're speaking the fallout from the Royal Rumble with TBK, Randy Dillon, and Chris Craven. Randy and Chris are our Sportzwire Radio Hall of Famers. TBK is also the host of the Be More Talkative podcast. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryson. If you want to follow Sportzwire Radio, all you have to do is go right there and find us. But I think here's the difference. Vince looks at people like attractions. Take Omos, for example, who comes into the Rumble. That would have been a Vince guy. He probably would have been main evented 6 or 7 different premium live events already. Triple H, on the other hand, looks at somebody else in a different way. And he takes Omos, for example, as somebody, that almost is going nowhere pretty much. So I agree with you that in terms of the presentation of the overall wrestler and how the product is, of course, there's going to be a difference because Vince is, remember, a carnival type promoter. Vince still goes back from 40, 50 years ago. He learned from his father, obviously Vince McMahon Sr. So he's going to look at wrestling talent in a different way. Let me get to some more comments here while we're hanging out here for a little while longer. If I have to guess, Tom, Bailey would probably most likely to have to go after Rhea. Well, I think the guy said that it's going to be a different way, but okay, I respect the opinion. Justin Parsley wants to come back and ask you guys a quick question because it's Justin Parsley. I'm going to let Justin Parsley ask this question. Was there an all-time favorite Rumble return for you guys? Just quick thought on it.
Oh. I don't know about a favorite return, but I know one of my favorite Rumble entrances was the 2006 with Ray entering at number 2 and winning. I was very happy with that.
I have one for this. Mr. Perfect 2002 I thought was a really good one.
I go with Cena 08 because everyone thought he was out. No, his prognosis was 10 months to a year, and all of a sudden he's back within 4 months, ready to go. So that one I would put there.
I have a favorite, but it might get disqualified because of who it was. But I do have a secondary. I'd say Benoit, number 1. I was a fan of Benoit in the 90s and in the early 2000s.
You want to know something bad? I still have a Chris Benoit shirt.
Like, I patterned, to be honest with you, Tom, I patterned a lot of my wrestling in the ring after Benoit when I got into wrestling. Like,
I have watched you coach in the ring, and I see a little bit of that technical aspect, yes.
You know, he was the second man in history to do. He basically did what Shawn Michaels did. He went from 1 to the end.
Yes, correct.
And at that time, no one had ever, you know, Michaels was the only one that did that. No one ever thought that would ever happen again, and Benoit did it. And to finally see him get his comeuppance after his career, almost what was it, 18 years, 19 years he was wrestling before he got that world title. Yeah. I mean, and if my answer is disqualified, I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go with. I'm definitely gonna have to go with Edge's return. Seeing him come back after 9 years.
Ethan just brought that one up. That was Ethan's one. That's certainly a good one. And Justin Parsley loves my Mr. Perfect because Mr. Perfect did really good in the 2002 Rumble, actually. He hadn't really been relevant in a couple years, and he looked great. He looked the same, and unfortunately, he died less than a year later. But
what would you guys' favorite woman one be? Because we've had, 6 women's Rumbles matches now? 7? 6 or 7 women's Rumble matches?
So I'll answer. I think for the shock value, I'm going to go with Mickie James.
Okay.
Mickie James. I think that was because it kind of broke the door open a little bit. TNA and WWE, we see have some sort of.
They did it again tonight. They brought the TNA Impact.
Jordan and Grace. Yep. That's why I would say Mickie James.
I'm going with Rhea last year because I think that Rhea they were hovering around, but Rhea was finally able to establish herself as a legitimate top person in the company.
All right, fair enough here. And let me come back to Joe Dell. Joe, thank you as always. By the way, he wants to say for TBK and Chris Craven, he's pulling for the Ravens to defeat the KC Swifties. Well, I think most people would be doing that.
I hope Baltimore whoops their ass.
Well, I already said it on the air. So, I mean, if it helps, actually in my neighborhood, there's a young couple that moved into my neighborhood about 4 years ago, and they're actually Ravens fans. So and I'm actually sort of friendly with them, sort of. Young couple.
One of my neighbors out my front door right now has a Kansas City Chief fucking flag hanging from their front door.
Are you preparing to do something that would pertain us to taking you away from the Sportzwire radio?
No.
Benoit, and you, coach?
TBK, so Maryland. I'm in Reisterstown.
Yeah.
Right? And there's the Baltimore Ravens training facility is in Owings Mills, Maryland, 5 minutes around the corner from where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And you got people showing off the Chiefs out their front door.
All right, let me come in because I got Ron Franklin here. Before I get to Ron Franklin, because Ron Franklin's sitting here, Justin Parsley wants to tell me that he liked my Mr. Perfect answer. He was pulling for him over Triple H. He also liked what they did with Punk this year. He liked the swerve on that. He also wanted to remind me about Mr. Perfect. He swatted his gum at Stone Cold Steve Austin while getting a mud hole stomped in him. He also said that keep up the conversation, guys. We're going to bring in Ron Franklin. Ron, are you alive right now? Are you safe? Are you going to be here and not in front of a train? If you're not, I'm going to tell you, see you Friday. You all right, Ron, right now?
I'm home right now, so I'm in peace. And,
okay, great, excellent. Okay, so I'm going to answer this. We're talking the fallout from the Royal Rumble. So thank you for tuning in on Twitch. If you want to follow us on Twitch, we're at Sportswire Radio. So thank you very much for tuning in. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I'm your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters here. We're also on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579. We just surpassed 500 subscribers. And I'm with my Sportswire Radio team. Two-time Hall of Famer, BWA Hall of Famer, Sports by Radio Hall of Famer, inducted 2 weeks ago, Coach Chris Craven, Randy Dillon, host of the Hockey Fan Chat, the 14th member. He's actually just ahead of Coach Chris Craven. Randy's 14, Chris is 15, the Sports by Radio Hall of Fame. Ron Franklin, Ron's been joining us here on our Friday shows. He's working his way up the ranks as an analyst and the host of the Be More Talkative podcast. His name is Mr. TBK, and that's our team. Check us out anytime. We're on sportswireradio.org, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year via the watch now or listen live buttons. Okay, let me ask you guys real quick before I want to come back to the end of the men's rumble and then fall out for Raw and the amount of time that I have going into Monday night. Logan Paul and Kevin Owens, were you guys okay with that? I would imagine that we're going to continue this feud into WrestleMania. Just real quick thoughts on that. You guys were all right with that finish?
I think it was okay. Sorry, Ron, go ahead.
No, my bad.
Ahead,
That
Randy,
finish.
Ron, hold on. Randy, go ahead. I'll let you go right now.
Okay.
No, I think the finish was okay because I think they've already advertised Logan for the Elimination Chamber in Australia, so I think they want to keep that going. I think they need to get Logan Paul more exposed with a Mania season. They want him to bring the attacks and bring the fans, the views with all that. So I think it's a good way to keep the match going, and we'll see what the next match holds.
For you, Ron, go ahead. Now you can go.
That finish, yeah, the match was good, but I mean, I was pulling for Kevin, and then you had one of his, I guess, buddies from his podcast trying to help him out. Theory and Waller interfering, which I mean, it's no surprise they're heels, so they're gonna do that. But I think Kevin had that one, but he messed up by not getting rid of the brass knuckles like he should have, because he had the match won, even though he did use brass knuckles. But let's face it, Logan Paul's been cheating majority of his matches, so
Okay.
I mean, the match was like 5 out of 10.
Match was okay, and I think Beans had a comment on that, and I'll come back to his comment. But for you, TBK, what did you think on Logan Paul and KO?
Yeah, I think that the ending was pretty much expected at this point, especially with Logan either tweeting or whatever he did, Instagram, basically saying that he signed an extension on his contract. He wants to start treating it less like a hobby and more like a full-time job. So to take a title away from him would be kind of foolish at this point. I wasn't super impressed by the match, but the match made sense. So
yeah, it's pretty fair for you, Coach. I mean, I'm surprised nobody mentioned the clever ending with the brass knuckles.
mm-hmm.
Well, so I think it was a good match. I think Logan got his ass whooped, turned from pillar to post. It was a good showing. Right, especially like they did the whole angle.
How about the spot where Logan went off the top and it was like he went like I don't know how high he was able to do what he remember that spot where he went like it was like his agility speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I didn't see that part. I was probably going upstairs and getting snacks intermission time at that moment.
I had a feeling that if you were going to come on, you were going to say that. Why did I have a feeling? I was watching it and I was like, he's going to say that.
I think the ending, I understand what they were trying to do with the ending. And it's not bad. They were trying to prolong the feud. They're trying to extend it out. They want this thing with Kevin Owens and Logan to go a little further, which is fine. I think, and I understand the whole, you want to get the dirty win. You want to get Logan some heat.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that to me, even though the spots were hit on mark, right? It had no excitement or thrill or
the flow was not. It didn't have a flow. In other words, sometimes Coach, you and I speak about this a lot because we cover a lot of wrestling on Sportswire. And there are some matches you go out there and okay, those guys had no flow. Some other matches have some flow, but that match at this level did not quite have that chemistry. You could tell that those guys haven't worked much with each other.
Yeah, right. I was getting ready to say that. It looks like the ending was over-rehearsed and it looked like the live presentation was like they were running through a rehearsal. Now, if that had been, like you said, flow, if that had been boom, 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 the guy got involved, or the guy tried to get involved, they stopped him, the other two came out, threw the brass knucks, bing, bang, boom, the ref caught him, and it was like a couple second deal where it was boom, boom, one step after the next, enough for people to go, holy shit, what did I do? You know, it probably would have felt better, or felt you should have.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like
listen,
I think somebody said that. I think was it Randy? It said the match was okay. It wasn't the worst match in the world, but it was like you were watching it, and it was like, okay, I want this match to end so I can get to the men's rumble. Now that's a tough spot. To be fair, that spot you're in. Not to say it's a dead spot, but it's kind of like the bathroom snack break, where it's like people, okay, they've just watched what happened with Roman. They had just watched the women's rumble, and it's like, okay, I want to now get up. I want to go out and go to the concession stand, go to the restroom, and it's a tough spot to be in, no question. But
what they should have done was they should have swapped those two normal matches. They should have put Roman after.
I would have agreed with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that would have been okay.
Like you said, people would have watched the Rumble. The second match would have happened. They probably would have watched that, been interested and invested. And then, of course, even if people did want to get up, well, I need a minute. Oh shit, the world title, the undisputed title, they're going to stick around.
Yeah, right? I mean, I guess you know what? It was funny because they did the women's rumble, and it was like I kind of thought like you a little bit. I was like, oh wow, they're gonna do Roman now. They're gonna do Roman, Logan, AJ, and Orton like right afterwards. I mean, it was like, okay, I was quick.
Yeah, we were kind of joking. We were like, I guess Roman wants to go home early.
Yeah, I thought they were going to do Logan Paul versus KO first.
So I guess, for you, Coach, I guess Roman gets the Craven Rage treatment in WWE, where he can pick and choose when to go and when to be on the card. Because I hear from a birdie that's the case.
I made a joke on TBK's thing. I said, "Oh, Roman wants to go to bed early. Paul Heyman's got to tuck him in."
But Roman, unfortunately for Roman, he had to come back about an hour and a half later because they showed him.
Yeah, he came back in the middle of the match, like right near the end. He probably took a nap halfway through, and Heyman's like, "Okay, we gotta go out now."
Yeah, that's a good point.
I had a friend of mine. Because I was on TBK's chat, and I was chatting with a couple other older wrestlers that I used to wrestle here in Maryland.
Oh, do I know one of these names or two of these names? I would imagine.
Louis Omega and Matt Lone Wolf Myers. These are the two guys from my
Matt Myers. I know.
Days.
Yeah.
So my friend Matt had sat there and said, "Does anybody notice how? Jesus Christ! Does anybody notice how tightly Paul Heyman's gripping Roman Samoan anal beads?" On the ring side, and I fucking lost my shit.
And I had thought that people wanted, and I had thought that people would want to rip off my mutton chops. That's certainly one for the ages there.
I saw it. He said it, and I looked at the screen, and he's literally at the ringside. You know, Heyman gets excited on the ringside, or he gets nervous and scared, and he's sitting there going. And he's got the beat like up in his face. And I'm just like, hearing that, seeing that, I got nothing left.
All right, fair enough. Let me get to a couple more comments here as we move on here to the last 20 or so minutes of the show. Jules wanted to say that Logan Paul has been cheating his entire life. I mean, somebody can maybe check that. I don't quite know, but I mean, he did, I suppose, retain his U.S. championship. If you're going to go in the context of that, fine, I suppose. Honestly, I think tonight's pay-per-view wasn't to its best ability. He says again, I'd rate it 5 out of 10. I mean,
but they were proud of the attendance.
I think. Yeah.
Oh, they're always proud of the
attendance. 4 matches. It makes it. I think 4 matches. You have only 4 matches, so it's really hard where you didn't have much to choose. Like one match was bad. Okay, that's 0.25% of the whole thing was bad. So I think that might have an effect on it.
Yeah. They could have put more matches on there. They could have rearranged. He even had a pre-show match. They didn't even have a pre-show match.
Because they're running things differently now. They're about the premium live event. They're about the experience. You know this better than anybody, Coach. They're not running this like a wrestling show anymore. It's almost like they're treating this like the Super Bowl. They're treating it like the Stanley Cup. They're treating it like something that's not a quote unquote, if it was AEW would have had 25 matches on the show. Conversely, people would have said, we would have been here talking about an AEW show, and people would have said, Tom, that was too many matches in AEW. Tom, I think, when could we have finally had to stop? They had 5 hours of TV, 5 hours of shows. That was too much. How could they have done that? You can't win with some people.
I'll be honest with you, personally, I would have rather the match. I would have actually rather the card went like this: Kevin Owens and Logan starting, have your WWE Undisputed title match, and then both Rumbles to have both winners cap off the night.
I'm okay with the women's opening, but what I would have flipped was, I agree with you, I would have flipped Logan second. I don't think that Logan Paul should have been third. That I would agree with you on, because you're in no man's land. You're in no man's land, and that's a dead spot to be in. That's the worst match on the card to be in first spot.
Yeah, unless either competitor has that ability that steal the show quality. Yeah, you're pretty much asked out. You're pretty much being told, hey.
Listen, Coach, what do we talk about all the time on Sportswire, right? We just had Jimmy Controversy on the big deal, Jimmy Controversy, Mr. Grimm's Toy Shop. We always said there's 2 spots on the card you want to be in. Randy, you know this because you wrestled also a little bit as well. I want to be on the opening match, or I want to be in the closing match. Anything else, it's the no man's land. It's basically, that's where I'm at. Like Ozzy sang in the song, not going away. It's in the no man's land. You are in the no man's land in that spot. And that's a no-win spot that there's nothing that you could have done. Let me come back to a couple comments here before we move on to a few other thoughts before we say sayonara. When Logan Paul pulled out the brass knuckles, it reminds me of Chris Jericho when Eric Bischoff gave the brass knuckles to him. You were a big John Cena fan. Ethan, what I've learned about you is you were a big John Cena fan, but John Cena wasn't in the show, and I don't think this has anything to do with John Cena and Chris Jericho. And I guarantee you that the writers real quick, the writers that are writing this now probably didn't even watch that match and probably don't even know who Chris Jericho is. But go ahead, TBK, real quick.
I'm going to dispute you. John Cena was there. We just couldn't see him.
But R-Truth did pay tribute to his childhood hero. I would say that.
You know what, R-Truth? Yeah. I want to see him in the Hall of Fame. We'll put him in the Sportswire Hall of Fame. But God bless, trying to be in 2 Rumbles. I mean, R-Truth's the greatest. I got to be honest.
The tag team was amazing. Like for that
was crazy.
And his childhood hero. Listen, his childhood hero was John Cena. When you fact check him, R-Truth's 7 years older than John Cena.
Right.
Yeah.
I was disappointed that they didn't let him do a little bit more when he came out with the women. He calls Sarah Logan her spot. And Sarah Logan tries to jump on his ass, and they hold her back. And I thought for sure he was going to turn around and try to talk to her, and be like, But he was like, nah. He just went and did his thing.
He got scared.
You want to say something, Ron?
What had me was when he said, "You telling me there's women in there?" I'm like, I'm done.
That was classic.
And Jules wants to say Logan deserves to be in a worse spot match. Well, he's the U.S. champ. You got to put him somewhere, and whether you like him or not, he's a draw. I mean, he's a draw.
The thing is that Logan has proved that he has ability.
Yeah, he has ability. I mean, there's no question. Listen, what he did against Roman Reigns, what he did with Ricochet, what he did against Kevin Owens. I mean, listen, you don't have to be a fan. Yeah, Seth Rollins. I mean, am I a Logan Paul fan? No, he's not my favorite wrestler. He's not my cup of tea, but there is a big audience with him on YouTube, and he does draw, and he does have ability. And I think that WWE is a business. You can't sometimes. You run businesses not on personal opinions and personal feelings, and he's there for those reasons. But yeah, he's not my cup of tea. And I think most people here would probably say the same thing. But there's an audience there that's out there for him. But obviously, okay. So we know that the women's Rumble.
No.
What's that? What'd you say?
Prime drinkers.
Okay, fair enough. So obviously into the last remaining minutes of the show, we know that Bayley's won. We've debated that. We obviously know Cody. We're imagining he's finishing this story against Roman. Whether he gets there and actually finishes it, we'll have to find out. We'll see what happens with Logan and Kevin Owens again. And we imagine Punk is going to be at a crossroads, which leads me to now going into Monday night and going into Friday night. So where else do we go from here? I mean, what else do you guys think before we go to final thoughts?
What's going to happen with Gunther at this point? I think this is a very interesting situation where who's really going to challenge him for the IC title? Obviously, he had that big match with Kofi, but the fact is, it was Cody who eliminated him from the Rumble. Not really one else could.
Well, I have a follow-up to that. Now, if you're going to do this.
So do
now,
I.
all right, well, we'll see. We'll see what if we think alike or think differently on this. Depends here. My strategy would be on that Braun Breaker.
Ooh, that could be good.
Yeah, we
That could
think
be
alike.
really good.
Well, I think because I watch more wrestling than you.
I
these
know
days.
that. Okay, so my original thing that has been leaked, it's been talked about, it's been dirt sheet talked about, everything was the fact that they were going to bring Brock in the upcoming weeks and have Brock against Gunther.
Correct.
To have
correct.
two bulls go at each other, right?
Correct.
But given the fact that Brock is the center of controversy with
Who?
that McMahon guy,
Who?
I don't know. I think after seeing Breaker's, his spot in the Rumble tonight, I think Braun, as soon as I seen him come in and do what he was doing, and then I seen him and Gunther interact, I was like, ooh.
That's exactly my thought. That's where, Coach, I watch too much wrestling, and all I do in my life is watch wrestling, because when I saw him in there and when they kind of crossed off and crossed paths with each other and the eliminations that Braun Breaker had, that said to me, okay, that's the guy at WrestleMania that's going to have a match. Now he's here in the roster.
Now, I got a counter question for you, and maybe some of these other guys have an opinion too. So, we potentially know what was going on. Cody's probably going against Roman. Okay, we know that, right? There's the theory that Rollins and Punk. Okay, you say Breaker goes against Gunther, right? Say the Kevin Owens and Logan thing goes to Mania,
right?
Say after the Fatal 4-Way tonight, say it turns into a feud between AJ and Orton. What do we do with LA Knight? Because this is a guy that's had momentum all year round, and we don't want to see that go away. Personally, I'd like to see them put him in a really good spot for Mania.
Randy, you want to say something? Go ahead, Randy.
I honestly think it's going to be LA Knight versus Logan Paul for the U.S. title at Mania. I think Kevin Owens,
so you don't think Kevin Owens is going to continue to go to Mania?
I think after Elimination Chamber, I don't know what's really going to happen with him, but I think we're going to see LA Knight versus Logan Paul, because at this point they have to give Logan Paul, LA Knight, that big win, and I think the only way you can do it at this point is the U.S. title against Logan Paul.
Yeah, I think he should have a good showing at Mania.
What about you, Ron Franklin?
Honestly, that would be cool for him to have the U.S. title, but someone told me this, I think it was on a podcast, I believe. They're not going to have LA Knight go backwards, considering he's been in, I guess, kind of the main event spotlight fighting for a main title. I don't think they're going to have him go back.
A big YouTube star. He gets a lot of earned media, a lot of earned engagements. He's not chopped liver. Logan Paul, probably outside of wrestling, is a main event guy. I mean, but with Solo Sikoa, wouldn't that be certainly an alternative? I mean, I thought about that. I mean, to answer your question with LA Knight, you don't think Solo Sikoa and LA Knight would be a reasonable match?
That would be a good one, and because I believe Solo, even though he's the enforcer, I believe he should have been a mid-card champion by now, honestly, because he has the talent.
He's Roman's henchman, though. Randy, you shake your head.
We've seen Solo and Knight on SmackDown.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Chris. It's been done
several different times.
Yeah.
So, I mean, personally, LA Knight, for me, I think they need apart from the top two titles, I think they need to give him something that's going to give him a good showing. I mean, you already have a good match that's going to go into Mania that's not title related, and that's the Usos against each other. That has got to happen. So if you're not going to put it, let's just say titles off the table for LA Knight, but he's going to get a big showing, right? There's got to be somebody. I mean, you saw tonight, it's probably going to be Sami Zayn versus McIntyre on one of the nights of Mania.
I think, yes, Sami Zayn and McIntyre, right? Yep, they hyped that up, yep.
So, like one of you guys said this earlier about how they like to showcase little cues in matches during the Rumble to see what's going to happen, maybe get you thinking. I didn't see any cues for LA Knight. I saw, even in that Fatal 4-Way, I saw AJ and Orton. I see that. I see AJ and Orton.
Or even Orton and Sikoa. You saw some of that also. You saw
right.
That.
I don't see I didn't see anything with LA and Orton. Maybe Orton gets a different opinion. Maybe it's LA and Styles. I don't know. I didn't see something there for LA. It's like they didn't want to. It's like they didn't want to tip their hand or tip their hat on what they're doing with him yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, Lashley and Cross are going to continue. Andrade came back, but you think he's probably going to go in an angle with Santos Escobar or, But yeah, I mean, LA Knight's, not to go back to the word no man's land, but he's kind of in the no man's land because he can't go back to the mid card, and he's not quite going to be in the world title picture.
Unless you put that fatal 4-way, you turn into a triple threat minus Roman at Mania. Orton, LA, and Styles.
They did it already.
You and I were talking for weeks that you thought that Roman could lose tonight, and that didn't happen. And we're seeing
Right.
Roman and Cody one more time.
So am I the only person that wants to throw, who would like to see someone for Gunther having the return of Sheamus? The match.
Yeah, my brother was talking Sheamus.
The match that they had at Clash at the Castle was phenomenal, and it would be Sheamus's opportunity to be Grand Slam champion.
You want to say something, Randy? I see you shaking your head.
I don't know if they can top that match, but
Big E, I think Big E's a total wild card. Who knows what his situation is?
Maybe not.
Yeah.
The only other person maybe I could see going against Gunther would be Kaiser at this point.
Because there was a nod about that because they looked at he was disappointed about him being eliminated in the Rumble. Yeah. That's a fair point.
I could see it.
It's a fair point. Yeah, I don't know where they go with LA Knight. I don't know where they go with LA Knight. I really don't know. But okay, before closing thoughts, let's go with Ethan here. I don't know why I'm going to pull it up, but it's for funny. R-Truth is just too funny. I remember when he knocked himself out in front of the Big Show. Yeah. Also, I believe now the Miz has 16 Rumble appearances. Was it 16? 15. No, 15.
Kofi has 16.
Kofi has 16.
And the record is Kane, who has 18 Rumble appearances. So we saw that tonight. So it's Kane with 18. Kofi Kingston 16 and the Miz 15. So you learned something new there. And also Andrade came back. Obviously, we'll see what happens with him. Had an okay showing, I suppose. It wasn't really.
Was I the only one that thought it was really weird that Carlito brought an apple into the ring, pulled it out of his trunks, and ate it in front of everybody?
That was so sus.
That was like, dude, you don't want to go on live TV and show everybody you're able to eat your own applesauce. That was a little nasty.
Well, we do have a wrestler. We do have a wrestler that comes on Sportswire that just had his own day. The Tribal Cheese, who's actually, I think you might be friends with him. TBK is actually kind of done that before. He would pull no joke. He would pull a piece of cheese out of his pocket and eat it from his pocket.
That reminds me back in the day of Carlito, though. Just bring out the apple and string. That's why I liked it. Like, I know what you're saying there, Chris. We're like, where the heck that apple's been? But it brings me back in those 2005 days where Carlito was had his
That's
best
not
in
cool.
WWE.
That's not cool.
That's not even a 5 second. I don't care if he put it in his shorts right before he walked out. That's not even a 5 second roll. Like that's
listen. Before we get to closing thoughts, for some of us on the East Coast, you know that we're in the witching hour now because they always say the witching hour is between 1 in the morning, and that's what we are right now. And when we're talking about Carlito and his apples and the Tribal Cheese and his cheese, we know we're getting close to closing thoughts. And obviously, we'll see what happens here in the men's. And obviously, Seth Rollins to be determined. We think Punk is going to still go after him. We have a chamber to talk about. Maybe we'll have another one of these shows in a couple weeks. Obviously, Friday nights. If Coach, I guess I should offer you this. If you're not doing anything 10 o'clock on Fridays, maybe you should hop on with us for 45 minutes. Are you doing anything? Are you training in the ring Friday nights at 10 o'clock?
No, I'm here.
So now you're going to be here Friday nights because I just announced it.
Spoiler alert.
10 o'clock. Send the link.
It's a pipe bomb. We just did a pipe bomb. Okay, so you know what? Obviously, Coach, we'll bring you on then for the wrestling coverage to open up the Friday night shows.
How many times I got to tell you this shit, Tom? I'll come on whenever. Damn.
Listen, I want to say real quick before we get to closing thoughts, I really have to say this once again. You really have no idea. Sometimes I forget who's coming on Sportswire because I said this on the air yesterday. I think before today, I did like 98 shows in like 78 days. I want to remind you, I did like 98 of these in about 78 days. I have people that said, "Oh, I'm coming on Sportswire." And I was like, really? I forgot at this point. So, you have to cut me slack. And literally, I've done about almost 100 shows in a little over 2.5 months. Find me anybody else who's done that, by the way. I can guarantee you.
Just know, I'm always willing to come on. I don't care what the topic is. We could be talking about Martha Stewart's shit. I don't give a fuck.
Some people like looking at Martha Stewart. I mean, I don't know if that's really my cup of tea, but there are people that like that.
If
Listen,
you wanted to have craft and talk about craft hour for an evening. I mean,
I tell you what, you did interest me on, depending on my voice. You did interest me on football because obviously there's 2 big games tomorrow. We'll see. It depends on how my voice feels.
I'm not really big. I don't know a lot about football like that.
Okay, then let's not do football. Okay,
I do like a good feud, right? So I do like a lot of controversy like that. So, like I said, this whole thing with the Taylor Swift and the Ravens and the Chiefs and shit like that, it's caught my interest, and I've been.
All right, I'll say one thing on that. One before we will get to closing thoughts, I promise. Mandy Rose said on her podcast, I don't know if people have listened to her podcast with her fiance, who was a football player, was at NXT, and she claimed, this is her opinion. I want to make sure this is not my opinion. So somebody messaged me and said, I said this. No, this is from Mandy Rose on her podcast. Yes, I have no life. Literally, all I do is watch wrestling, whether it's Underground, Backyard, Craven Rage, whether it's Jimmy Controversy. I was kidding on the Craven Rage. Well, actually, I did watch his match yesterday. I did watch his last match, but all I do is watch wrestling, and I stumbled upon her podcast, and she claimed that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's relationship is contrived, and it's basically a sham relationship. Swift, good publicity. That was pretty much her words, not mine. I don't know. She was also saying
he wants the halftime show at the Super Bowl. He wants,
and Mandy Rose's words was like, "Come on, think about it. He's this big football star. He's in great shape. He could have any woman that's way better looking than Taylor Swift." And she was like, "I'm not saying she's ugly. True. She's not. She's pretty. But think about it. This guy's a football player. Look at the size of him. He could have anybody he wants, and he's got Taylor Swift." Now, again, not my opinion. If he likes Taylor Swift, God bless him. He's entitled to it. That's her opinion, not mine. That's all. But we can maybe talk about that tomorrow.
Maybe it's about money. She's richer than any football player.
She's probably richer than, I think, some owners. I mean, because there's some real cheap owners. Listen, in New Jersey, they have one, the New York Jets, that guys like Chris Pizzea and Justin Gianelli complain about. So, but that's here nor there. Let's get to closing thoughts, because we could be here all day about Taylor Swift, and the Swifties will come after us. And I've got already other people want to come.
I'm so scared.
Oh, well, we could talk about that for sure. Friday.
Hold on, wait. Will that create bad blood?
It could. I mean, it could. I mean, it could. But you know what?
I'll just shake it off.
But to be fair, real quick, people have actually told me that they like the attitude on Sportswire because the viewership is up, the subscribers are up. So maybe like Vince. Well, we used to say his name, BKM, but the initials BKM. And, well, you could say it. I can't.
Think about DX's Hall of Fame thing. You're not supposed to say or thank Mr. Vince McMahon.
Well, technically, as a fellow businessman, who's not in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame? Yours truly, right? As a fellow businessman. The point is that when VKM, quote unquote,
we should put you in.
But again, I'm not in. But the point is that VKM, when he changed his product to an attitude product, the ratings went up, the engagements went up. On Sportswire, the last month, we had the most successful month in the 5-year history of the platform, whether it was SoundCloud, YouTube, Facebook, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Sportnarium.com, Sportswire Radio, whatever it is. We had the most successful month in history. So it might work, and maybe we'll continue that. But let's get to closing thoughts. Ron Franklin, Monday Night Mammy, Packers fan, give me your closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? Floor is yours.
Tom, you already know it's always a pleasure being here with you guys. I'm gonna say this real fast and sweet. If Cody doesn't finish the story here in Philly, considering I'm a Philly guy myself, there's gonna be rioting going on in South Philly. So be prepared for that.
For WrestleMania 40? Are you gonna be there?
I wish.
Okay, never mind.
So yeah, unfortunately, I won't be able to go there. But yeah, so if Cody doesn't finish it, just know that people are going to be climbing poles. It's going to go nutty. And hopefully I better see the Ravens in the Super Bowl, because if I don't, I'm not trying to deal with another Chiefs Super Bowl, especially with Taylor Swift. And hopefully the Lions represent NFC North and beat San Fran. Unfortunately, that's not us out there. And last thing I'm going to say is if you want to Follow my Instagram. It's ron.frm215. Always active on there. And last but not least, go Pack Go.
All right, Ron, good closing thoughts. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. TBK, you're up next. We put your logo, your banner up there. Be More Talkative Podcast, closing thoughts. And we'll see you Friday for sure at 10. It'll be a lively discussion, I have no doubt. Now we got a 4-man booth with Coach Craven, who's going to be our 4th member of the booth. I feel like we're almost like we're like broadcasting. We're going to have a 4-man booth on Fridays at 10. But floor is yours. Floor is yours, TBK. Fire away.
Yeah, great show, guys. As always, definitely looking forward to having the coach on, man. I'm looking forward to again. Now that it is officially Sunday, these next couple hours are going to be something. And let me tell you right now, I wasn't going to say anything because I usually say that I don't like to talk in certain situations like this because we end up losing, then I'll look like a jackass. But if we win and you decide to do a show, I'm going to be talking shit to a certain somebody who blocked me after I said that the Chiefs were going to get their asses whipped. So just be prepared for it. Love you. God bless.
We'll see. It depends on my voice. I might have 2 shows. If I have 2 shows tomorrow, there's no way I'm going to be able to do a third. If I do
Fair
just
enough.
my one, yeah, I could do a post show. It depends on where we go. It'll be to be announced.
I want in.
Where remind people where we can follow you before we get to the rest of the guys and sign off.
Oh, yeah. You guys can find me at Instagram at t.b.k0892. You guys can find me on Facebook at Ryan Andrew Familaro. And be sure to look out for a new episode, the first episode of 2024 of the Be More Talkative podcast. Hopefully featuring the Tribal Cheese Logan. Very much looking forward to that.
Yes, definitely. He's got a lot to say. He's certainly in a foul mood. Will not spoil what he was in the Rumble there at CCW, but good stuff there, TBK. We look forward to that, and we'll see you Friday, and maybe tomorrow or today, depending on my voice and the outcome of these games. Randy, you're up next. I want to give you the floor for some closing thoughts, and anything else you want to plug, share, or say, fire away.
Thanks, Tom. Always a pleasure working with all you. TBK, Ron, Chris, great working with you for the first time. Listen, I'm excited. It's Mania season. We are on officially the road to WrestleMania. We got the Elimination Chamber coming up. The one thing I'm going to add, I know like there's a mixed reaction with Cody. Should he win? Should he not? How they built Roman Reigns, he's built as the ultimate boss, and there's not many people who had that momentum can beat him. The only other person I think that really had that shot was Drew McIntyre at Clash of the Castles, who I think that was the one other opportunity to take the title off him. Other than that, there really came no one close at this point. So Cody is the guy, unfortunately, at this time. I think it's going to work out. He's shown that TKO to have faith in it, making him the face of WWE, and he's going to carry the torch after post-Mania. But listen, the ride there, I'm excited, and what's the interesting question going to be? What's the future with Rollins and Punk's going to happen? Because we don't know. Is he going to make it to Mania or not? You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, at Randy Dillon, DillonDhillon. And Tom, I look forward to Friday.
Me too. I'm really excited. We're in the best season right now, and we're really doing great on Sportswire Radio. And thank you, Randy, for your awesome work. And the people can see it, that you're a Hall of Famer, and you've earned it for the past 2.5 years. And Daniel Banner, you're catching us on the back end of the show. We basically talked about the fallout from the Royal Rumble. Coach, I'm giving you the floor. I'm definitely looking forward to Fridays at 10 o'clock with you. Let's see how I feel tomorrow or today, depending on where you are in the world. But until then, closing thoughts, anything else you want to plug, share, or say, and fire away.
Fig Newtons are not a cookie. Anyway.
I haven't had one of those in a while, by the way. I haven't had one of those in a while.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you do this, if you do any football show later today, I want, only if the Ravens win, I'll come on.
Yeah, if the Chiefs win, I'm not going to do a show.
I'm not going to come in and talk about.
If the 49ers win, I'm going to say, listen, guys, I'm going to stick to what I'm supposed to do on Sportswire and not move around my day, pretty much.
Appreciate it right now. Thank you.
I think, the road to WrestleMania is looking pretty interesting. I'll say that. I'm liking a lot about it. There are some things today that I wish went differently with some of the things, but like I said, Mania's while some of Mania might be predicted already or predictable, there's still a lot of gray area and ground to cover to put the rest of this card together to see what they can pop off. You know, like you said, you got Chamber coming. You know, who knows if they'll throw another Super Showdown or what you call it in between. Who knows? But you know, you got. Hopefully, I do hope that Rollins is in good enough shape to go.
Yeah,
regardless.
Me too.
Yeah, no, I'm psyched. I'm actually ready to see what would happen on Raw and SmackDown this upcoming week and see how they're going to go off of this and how they're going to, the feedback from the Rumble on their end. Other than that, just looking forward to some good shit. And as far as your show's TBK, if you do any shows, well, if I'm not at work, man, I'll come on your shit too. I don't have anybody, anywhere for people to follow me. You can find me on Facebook, but if you follow me too much, that's some weird ass shit.
Well, technically they can follow. Well, slow down before you. Technically, they can follow you on sportswireradio.org because your photo is the member of the second class of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame alongside Randy Dillon. So technically, your name appears on our home website. So that's where they actually can find out who you are and where to look you up. So
I will drop a nice little thing, controversy, in my final statement because that's usually how I like to do things.
Yes.
Then I'm going to have to hop off here too. But as long as everything goes well and Soldier GP still has that world title in April, I think I might just have to be. Now, like I said, pending everything works out finance-wise to get my ass to Iowa, I think I might be his open challenge acceptor.
Well, we'll have to find out because, first of all, he's got Tommy the Man Merriman in less than 3 weeks. So he's got to obviously.
If he's still the title holder.
Tommy the Man Merriman is a man I know very well. He's a man I know, Mr. Merriman. That's going to be a doozy. That's not going to be Craven Rage and King Josiah.
That's fine. Like I said, pending my finances to get my ass to Iowa. Mm-hmm. And it's looking good. I won't say it's definite, but it's looking good. And pending whether he's still got title and he's going to do another open challenge, everything goes well, I will be accepting.
Well, you know what? We'll certainly find out. Stay tuned. Never say never. But ladies and gentlemen, that was our post-Royal Rumble Fallout show. And thank you, Ron Franklin, for joining in. But my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters. And we were joined by our coach, Chris Craven, our 15th member of our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, Randy Dillon, also the host of the Hockey Fan Chat, our 14th member of our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, and TBK, the host of he does hockey. It's a great show, by the way. He does all the cool. He does hockey. He does a great job with it. And TBK is the host of the Be More Talkative podcast, which you can hear on our home website, sportswireradio.org. Also, Randy's show is on there. Also, we'll see everybody for sure Friday at 10 o'clock. Stay tuned. I will be back on tonight with Mr. Dat Voice Guy, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Maybe Dylan Andrews, the war criminal of AWL. I'm sure you're not going to be too hyped on that, but he may be.
You want me to start trouble? I can start trouble.
I don't know if I don't know if he's coming on for sure because I actually might want to move the show now because if we're going to do a football show, I may have to. You never need me
to come in and deal with these assholes from alternate.
No, AWL is okay. We're going to move off on that because I like them. They're working with us. They're okay in our book right now. Let's say hi to them. Thank you.
I'm so sorry.
No,
I get so caught up in the chaos. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. No, they're with us. They're okay with us. But it's been a great week on Sportswire Radio. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you're on sportswireradio.org, you go back to your regularly scheduled programming, Peter Gabriel, Sledgehammer, and maybe some other shows like Steve Winwood, Higher Love. But until then, we'll see everybody later. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters.
Tom Bryce